Welcome to a world where darkness reigns, where desires run deep and secrets linger in the shadows. This is Vampire Stories, your sanctuary for tales of lust, power, and immortality. Tonight we delve into the origins of Selene, a vampire whose curse became her salvation and whose hunger knows no bounds. Shadows of Constantinople. Episode 8, Back in Time, Act 1, The Falling City. The autumn of 1453 descended upon Constantinople like a funeral shroud, its last moments punctuated by the thunderous roar of Ottoman cannons. Smoke billowed from burning buildings, obscuring the sky in a thick, suffocating veil. The once magnificent Byzantine capital, a jewel of civilization that had stood for centuries, was crumbling, its marble walls and gilded domes cracking under the relentless siege. Selene moved through this apocalyptic landscape with an otherworldly grace. Her emerald silk gown, impossibly pristine, seemed to repel the ash and blood that stained everything around her. To the casual observer, she might have appeared as a phantom, beautiful, untouchable, existing in a realm between destruction and survival. For centuries, Selene had wandered the earth, a predator disguised as elegance. Her pale skin, luminous even in the chaos, bore no marks of her true age. Behind her emerald eyes lay millennia of accumulated knowledge, calculated patience, and an insatiable hunger for secrets that transcended mortal understanding. Constantinople was more than just another conquered city to her. It was a treasure trove, a final repository of ancient texts that whispered of vampiric immortality. Texts that spoke of rituals so profound they could elevate her kind beyond their current existence. While armies battled and empires collapsed, Selene pursued a different conquest, knowledge that could transform the very essence of her immortal existence. General Asil Pasha was not merely a soldier, but a cornerstone of the Ottoman military machine. Raised in a strict Islamic tradition, he embodied discipline, faith, and an unwavering commitment to duty. His reputation preceded him, a tactician who saw war not as a display of brutality, but as a complex chess battle where human lives were strategic pieces. Tall and powerfully built, with skin the color of burnished bronze and eyes that seemed to penetrate through deception, Asil represented everything Selene needed to manipulate. His position in the Sultan's inner circle granted him unprecedented access to the palace's most guarded secrets. But Asil was more complex than a simple military strategist. Beneath his stoic exterior lay a profound inner conflict. Years of warfare had worn away his initial religious certainty, leaving behind a man who questioned everything: his faith, his purpose, the very nature of his existence. The palace gardens became their initial battlefield, not of weapons but of wit and concealed intentions. Selene had carefully crafted her persona, a courtesan of extraordinary beauty and mysterious origins. Her every movement was calculated, her every word a precisely aimed arrow. When she first approached Asil, the garden seemed to shift around her. Jasmine and rose scents swirled, creating an intoxicating atmosphere that disarmed even the most vigilant observer. Her emerald gown, cut in the Byzantine style but tailored to Ottoman sensibilities, highlighted her otherworldly beauty. "You seem troubled, General," she said, her accent a melodious blend that could have originated from anywhere and nowhere. Asil's initial response was dismissive. "The burden of war is not something a woman like you would understand. Most women would have been offended." Selene merely smiled, a gesture that held centuries of understanding about human nature, about war, about survival. "And yet," she replied, stepping closer, her voice a velvet whisper, "I see it in your eyes. The weight of decisions, the lives lost." Something in her tone, a mixture of empathy and something deeper, more primal, caught Asil off guard. For the first time that day, his military facade cracked slightly. "Tell me about your doubts," Selene whispered, her hand barely touching the embroidered sleeve of his caftan. Not a demand, but an intimate exploration. Asil's breath caught. No one had ever asked to understand his inner turmoil. Warriors were expected to be resolute, unquestioning. Yet here was this enigmatic woman, offering something dangerous, genuine comprehension. Her fingers traced the line of his jaw, a touch so light it could have been a phantom's caress. Asil realized she was reading him, not just physically, but penetrating the intricate landscape of his psyche. "I have watched empires rise and fall," Selene murmured, her voice carrying centuries of witnessed history. "Faith is a beautiful construct, but it can also be a prison." Each word was a key, slowly unlocking the carefully constructed walls Asil had built around his innermost self. She wasn't seducing him through physical desire alone, but through intellectual and emotional resonance. Asil's resistance was methodically dismantled, not through force, but through a profound understanding that seemed to transcend their immediate moment. "You judge yourself harshly," she continued. "A soldier who sees the humanity in his enemies. A believer who questions the very foundations of his belief. You are far more complex than you allow yourself to be." Her words were a mirror, reflecting parts of himself he had long tried to suppress. When their lips finally met, it was less a physical act and more a metaphysical convergence. Selene's kiss was a revelation, cool yet electrifying, controlled yet passionate. She didn't consume, she awakened. Asil's hands, calloused from years of wielding weapons, now trembled. Not from weakness, but from the sudden understanding that everything he believed about desire, about connection, had been fundamentally limited. Selene tasted of secrets, ancient wines, forgotten rituals, the metallic hint of centuries of survival. Her kiss was a gateway, offering him a glimpse into a world far more expansive than his current existence. She pulled back momentarily, her emerald eyes holding his gaze. No predatory hunger, but a profound, almost scholarly interest. She was studying him as much as seducing him. "Do you understand now?" she whispered. "Desire is not just of the body. It is of the spirit, of potential unrealized." Their intimacy was a complex dance. Selene guiding, Asil slowly surrendering his carefully constructed defenses. She wasn't just preparing to feed, she was conducting an intricate psychological experiment. Every caress was a question, every response an answer. When she finally allowed her true nature to shimmer, just a hint of fang, a sudden coldness in her touch, Asil did not recoil. Instead, he was mesmerized. The monster and the man within him recognized each other. "Who are you?" he breathed, not in fear, but in genuine wonder. Selene's smile held entire epochs. "I am everything you've been forbidden to understand." Their encounter was never just about physical conquest. It was an intellectual and spiritual transformation. Asil would be forever changed, not through violence, but through the most intimate form of revelation. Selene had selected her prey with surgical precision, not just for sustenance, but for the profound psychological journey such an encounter represented. Constantinople burned outside. Inside this chamber, a different kind of destruction and creation was unfolding. The betrayal and confrontation. When Constantinople fell, Asil discovered Selene's true nature. In the palace library surrounded by ancient manuscripts and the remnants of a dying civilization, he confronted her with a scimitar, a symbol of his warrior heritage and his broken trust. "You've used me," he accused, his voice a mixture of rage and profound heartbreak. Selene's response was calm, almost compassionate. "And you allowed yourself to be used, because you wanted what I could provide, a momentary escape from your doubts, a glimpse of a world beyond your rigid understanding." Their fight was swift and brutal. Asil's martial skills, honed through years of conquest, proved futile against Selene's supernatural abilities. She moved with an inhuman grace, deflecting his attacks while maintaining a predatory control. When she finally subdued him, her bite was not just an act of feeding, but a profound violation and transformation. She didn't kill him. Instead, she left him alive, broken, forever changed. As Selene disappeared into the night, clutching the ancient text that had been her true objective, she understood that her encounter with Asil was more than a mere strategic manipulation. It was a profound exploration of human vulnerability, of the delicate membrane separating faith from doubt, survival from destruction. The burning city became a metaphor for her own existence, constantly changing, consuming, transforming. Constantinople had fallen, but for Selene, the real conquest was just beginning.